Have you ever wondered what it'd be like if your favorite Disney movies weren't happy-go-lucky, family-friendly adventures, but spine-chilling works of horror instead? Well, in this video, I'm taking the original posters for 3 of Disney's biggest hits and throwing them straight into a genre full of terror and torment. So grab your nightlight if you're scared, and let's get started. Oh, and if you're wondering why I'm using Disney posters, it's because one of you legends left me a $500 super thanks asking for a Disney-themed video. So if you want your video idea to become a reality, I guess 5 big ones is all it takes. And so first up, we have everybody's favorite film about genetically modified anthropomorphic vehicles, Cars. Now this is honestly one of those movies where you'd think that the first guy that suggested it at a Pixar meeting would have immediately been sent straight home without pay. I mean, let's just take Cars, break out their windshield, and glue on giant Google eyes. That really should not work, but man does it. We just kind of accept these giant chunks of talking metal as real characters. But then you start to notice a few things, like that Radiator Springs is full of sidewalks. Why do cars need sidewalks when they have the road? And clearly the cars have door handles, but who's supposed to be getting inside? And really the biggest question of all is, how are new cars even made? Because you will never convince me that these things can reproduce on their own. So this can only mean that in the Cars universe, humans had to have existed. See, I'm thinking that this was like the final evolution in autonomous vehicles, but like all machines, they grow a little too smart for their own good. They turn on their creators, and it all ends with mass human extinction. So my poster is going to tell the origin story of Lightning McQueen before he was a world-famous racer, and back in the days when he took part in the Great Car Uprising. Now the thing about posters is that it only takes the smallest detail to completely change your perception of them. The tiniest thing can turn a cool, mysterious, smiling car into a crazed, psychopathic killing machine. But of course with horror, it's usually less about what you do show and more about what you don't. Like completely covering Lightning's deceased victim here in the shadow of his underbelly is more creepy than if we just showed the poor sap in clear daylight. And leaving only this limp arm in the spotlight kind of makes us wonder, is the rest of the body actually under there? Or did Lightning use those 4-foot teeth of his to make a light snack of his former owner? Either way, making this look like a convincing part of the poster relies entirely on getting the lighting to match, which is why I'm going with the same super dark shadows that you see coming off the car itself. Now admittedly, you could mistake this for just some dude who was working on his car who decided to take a nap while he was down there. So let's make it a little more clear that some foul play was involved, with a subtle tire track stamped on his arm, wrapping down to the ground below, leading right back to the culprit. But just in case there are any more doubts, why don't we just throw a big old dent right here in the hood? So I'll just use my new app Refbox to grab a little reference image of a dent in a real car that'll float right there while I paint a dent of similar shape and size on my own car here. Let's get in those highlights to match his normal shiny coat, a little dark reflection popping through there, and finish it off with some softer scratches left by the impact with a small helping of dirt and debris. Refbox lets you keep all of your references pinned to the side of the screen while you work, and you can pull out individual images to focus on whenever you want to. I'll leave a link down below if you want to check it out. And just in case there are any doubters out there who think this poor fella might just be unconscious, well, I'm afraid his story did not have so happy of an ending after all. Then as a last touch, how about we replace this with something that's a bit more appropriate? You know, I think it takes a special kind of car to so brazenly show off his crime like this, literally spotlighting the evidence against him, and frankly, Disney needs to give us the movie telling this car's story. I think we all deserve it. And then we have a more modern Disney film, Luca, which is about 2 sea monster kids who turn into humans when they aren't in the water. And kind of their whole goal in life is to get a Vespa and experience the world, not knowing that Vespas are the leading cause of all deaths worldwide. Now, monsters turning into people is a fun concept enjoyable by the entire family. But people turning into monsters, well, that's a little more disturbing. So if we just flip this movie on its head like that and make this seemingly tranquil sea surrounding our homey Italian village a place where young, unsuspecting boys go to take a swim only to be transformed into mindless creatures who will eat anything that sets foot in these waters. But first, let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Framer. Now, Framer, easily the best website builder I have ever used, and what's super cool is they have this brand new feature called Design Pages, which is an infinite canvas type thing that you'll be super familiar with if you've used basically any other design tool. You can use it to lay out all your concepts, experiment to your heart's content, and once you've finalized an idea, you can turn it into a website with a single click. From there, you can get into all the nitty-gritty, making sure it looks great on every screen size, having complete control to make your site look however you want to without ever needing to code anything. They've got tons of pre-built components like video players, these endless scrolling carousels which are perfect for things like testimonials, and fun little countdown timers that are perfect for things like coupon codes. Editing content is quick, layouts are fully customizable. It's literally never been easier to create the exact website that you want, which is why I was able to build this fun, animation-packed website super easily and show off everything about my app Refbox that I wanted to. And you know, if you want something a little more already set set up, Framer has a huge library of beautifully designed templates to help get you started. So check out my link down below and use my promo code to get 25% off your plan whenever you're ready to launch. Thanks to Framer for sponsoring this video. So first up, this scene looks far too cheery. We need to set the proper mood, which I imagine is much darker. So let's build up our own stormy nighttime sky using a few different layers of clouds. I'll be sure to leave that brighter towards the bottom, towards the horizon, but make it really dark towards the top, so the poster draws our eyes down towards Luca. Now blue, well, that's not a very scary color. But green, well, that's a color that'll make you shed that dead outer layer of skin of yours. Basically, I want this entire atmosphere to feel like one big Mike Wazowski fever dream, which means getting rid of this crystal clear Aquafina pond and replacing it with the type of water you'd see out back behind Mr. Burns' factory, where they dump pretty much everything that isn't supposed to be dumped. That'll turn everything under the water green, but the blue on his fins will probably still shine through a little bit, get some extra contrast on here, because what I really want is for all the lighting in the scene to kind of be focused straight down on Luca, almost like there's a spotlight shining down on him from above, making all this water around him super bright, but leaving behind a bit of a shadow right underneath him where he's blocking that light. Now that little light isn't going to spread across the entire ocean, so basically everything else on the top here will be dark, including these islands in the background, which will basically just become silhouettes. And Luca's skin is looking way too healthy for somebody that's slowly turning into a monster, so a nice green overcast will do him wonders. So a huge part of these types of posters, especially when there's tons of dark elements, is finding ways to build up different layers of contrast. For example, let's make a super clear delineation between the ocean and the sky with this ominous green glow across the horizon. We could even carry that up behind the islands so they stand out more. In fact, I think a nice subtle rim light would do wonders for these, giving them that extra hard edge you'd expect from stone buildings, as well as from stone. Then a little mist around here will help hide the scene between the rocks and the water, and just make everything feel that much more creepy. And after darkening it up, I'll add a little extra to that to make the transition nice and smooth. Now coming back down here, let's add in a tiny white streak that helps separate the top of the water from everything that's below it. Maybe toss in some smoky texture into the water, which will look like a bunch of grimy sludge just floating around. Aided, of course, by tiny floating particulates swirling around the midst. Now let's get our boy Luca here glowing like the Flying Dutchman, and to make sure it doesn't look like he's enjoying himself too much, I'm going to erase his pupil so it gives him that kind of mindless, deranged look, like he's no longer himself and he's not in control anymore. And for a few finishing touches, let's darken up the logo so it doesn't look so happy and cheerful, and then everything under the water here is going to get a nice blur to it that's going to get more intense the deeper you go down. So with that, we've got a brand new story about a young lad who fell into an ocean that's either cursed or perhaps just had too much expired Mountain Dew tossed in it, who now has sadly lost his human form and become a scaly-finned monster that's sure to ravage the local town. And then we've got one of my favorite 3D animated Disney movies, Big Hero 6. It's basically about this inflatable robot caretaker built by a super smart college kid who sadly died in a fire because somebody didn't read the clearly marked warning signs posted in all the hallways. This robot, with his gang of super genius heroes, goes out to save the day and have an adventure and all that. Now Baymax, this guy right here, is easily one of the most lovable characters I think Disney has ever made, but he does have a testy side that comes out if you poke him the wrong way. So let's lean into that, shall we? Now cute little Baymax won't look like much of a friend to our main character Hero if Hero was trapped inside of him, unable to get out. Now to make him look like he's actually inside of Baymax, I'll just make his entire body a black silhouette and make him more transparent so he's kind of like a shadow just peeking out from inside, which he will be blurred pretty heavily due to this thick matte material that Baymax is made from. I'm just going to get rid of this little port so it doesn't muddy up our silhouette shape. Now looking at it, Hero's probably not going to be scared out of his mind standing there just perfectly straight armed, so let's just remove that little bit of him. So I've got a little ref box window here with another scene from the movie, and I'm just going to sit this up to get a good look at this guy's hand, make it transparent so I can see through it, and lock it in place so I can make a quick silhouette of that hand. Now granted, this isn't our main character's real hand, but all of their hands look roughly the same, so I don't think anybody's really going to notice. Now of course he'll need some type of arm attached to that hand, and I'll give him a stylish long sleeve shirt, finished off by attaching his elbow back to his actual body. Now that arm will need some blur as well, but it'll still be really sharp here where the hand is pressing right against the plastic, but down here where it's further away is where we're really going to get that extra fogginess. Then how about a little extra lighting coming from behind Baymax to really show off that silhouette, as well as a little extra right here to add some separation between the body and the arm, topped off with a smidge of light bleed around the fingers, leaving this almost halo-like glow. Of course, Baymax is going to need his trademarked red eyes that truly are a staple of his purely evil intentions. And lastly, a touch of darker shading around the edges to really draw our eyes in towards Hero. And with just those few changes, we've gone from a cute, cuddly action hero to some claustrophobic inducing death machine that looks like it'd give you a hug before swallowing you whole and slowly suffocating you. Well, don't forget to check out my new app Refbox for all your inspiration and reference needs. And while you're here, you might as well watch another video, right? I bet you'll like this one just as much.